So now what we are going to talk about is variable. So we talked about syntax in our last lecture. We're going to talk about variable. So now what is variable? So variable is a container that we use in storing data. It's just a container that we use in storing our data. Now let me come back to this. What we did. So last time we did created a variable. We want to talk more about that variable. So it's a container we use in storing data that we can use to move around. So instead of us moving with, like last time I talked about, instead of us moving with something big like this, we can assign it to what? A variable. Now we are not going to be moving with this stuff, copying and pasting this stuff. Anywhere I paste this one, this thing here will appear there. The text here will appear there. So that's what the variable that's how the variable functions. So the next thing, we can't talk about variable without talking about this assignment operator, the equals to. So the job of the equals to is to move whatever is at the right to whatever is at the left. So at this place we are creating the variable, we are moving all these large text and we are pushing it into this con variable. So now how do you create a variable? So you create a variable using the $sign. Then you put the name of the variable. Now the name of the variable can be any name you want to give it. So let's say you can give it name. Just that whenever you're giving it a name, there are inbuilt names. The inbuilt name that comes with PHP that you should not use name your variable. So you can give it name, you can give it any stuff. So then equals to, then you can add whatever you want to assign it. I can assign 34 instead of this this. Okay, so want to let me assign, so I'm assigning a name instead of this. So instead of me moving around with this John Mark, now I can now move around freely with the name variable. Anywhere I call that name variable, this John Mark is going to appear. So then there are rules when it comes to creating a variable. So now you say a variable can have a short name like your x and y. You can have any short name from a, b to z, except 1, 2, 3. So you can use any a, b, c, d to z to create your variable, or a more descriptive name like the age, car name, total, and so many more, or last name, just like the one I just created now. So now rules for PHP variable. So a variable starts with the $sign followed by the name of the variable. A variable name must start with a letter or the underscore. So a variable name cannot start with a number. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. So what this basically means is that whenever you are creating a variable name, so it must always start with alphabet or underscore. So you can just put an underscore after the $sign. The $sign is used to declare the variable, while the next thing that follows is what the identifiers. So this identifier, you can start it with underscore or alphabet. So you cannot start it with is any other special character like your @ like your $sign again, like putting a double $sign. You can't put a double $sign. You can start it with a number. So it has to be underscore. It has to be underscore or letter. So you can even start it with a plus or minus or any arithmetic operators. You can't use that. So now, but numbers, now you can put numbers at the end. So just they say you cannot start it with number, meaning you can put number at the end of the variable. So like something like you want to say name 34. So you can put the number at the end, but not at the beginning of the variable here. So most time, like for special character, you don't really need. You can't put special character instead of a variable. It doesn't matter whether it is at the end or at the beginning. It doesn't matter. So you don't put special character like your star, bracket, and so many more. So now variable are case sensitive. They are very case sensitive, and it's one of the most important thing you have to note. It's very case sensitive, meaning that right now I'm calling name 34. If I want to output this, or if I want to use this again, if I want to use the next variable, all I need to do is to call that same name. But if I come and make the mistake of calling the name like this, this name here is not the same as this one here. So this one here, due to the first one, it starts with a capital letter, and the where you are declaring it does not start with it. So this particular one won't see this one here. So basically what it just means that these are two different variables. So variables are usually case sensitive. That's all you just have to know. So now to output data, so to output your variable, we use what we call, now like I said in our previous lecture, PHP is not for designing, so you should not be expecting designs. So it's just to make a web page work. That's the main purpose of PHP. Now to output all this stuff I'm writing now, let me try to output it in the browser. So if I copy path, if I copy the path, so this is how output is: copy path, you go to wherever you want to output it. So instead of your browser, go to V. Now you start from the htdocs, where the S stop, downward to the end of your C. Remove what is there, then apply the local host there. Make a mistake here. Local host. So local host. So apply the local host there, then press enter. So that page is going to open. So if it does not open, then you know your XAMPP is not on. The XAMPP. So you go and make sure your XAMPP is running. So you click on the XAMPP, start it, the Apache, the first one. So when you click on it, now I go back, I'm just reload. You see that a number is being outputted. So let me check. Okay, because of this. So now you notice that we have a lot of text here and nothing is showing in our browser. And the reason why is, when it comes to PHP, it's not, you have to use keywords to output a particular line of code you want to show in your browser. So now if I want to show this John Mark, all I just need to do is, now whenever you are trying to output string, we use what we call, we use keyword like echo. So we use keyword like echo and print to output whatever we want to show in our browser. Echo, print. So they are used to output literals like your variable, like your text, number. So whenever you are putting a string, or whatever we call it, the text, we use the echo or print. So here at this point, I'm going to, let me comment on this one. So I'm going to use the echo here. So I'll just say echo. Now all I just need to do is say echo this container. So echo what is in this container. Let me make sure. Now always remember, whenever you're writing something, always close it with semicolon, and it's very important. That is very important. So you see now that John Mark is now showing. So now you can use the echo to output numbers if you want, even if it's a variable that contains number, you can still use the echo to output it. So when you just say echo, it's going to output it. Now, like I say, the echo is used for outputting string. This stuff are string text. They are all called strings in PHP or in programming in general. They are all called string. So, or your numbers. So you can use the echo to output this string or output number. Same thing again, you can still use the print. So you can still use the print to output string or number. So if you come here and say output hello world, so when you go to your browser, it's going to output it there. So now another thing again you have to know again is that apart from the print and echo that we use in outputting a value, we have others. So one order that we have is the vadom, and we have the print r. Now we are still going to get into that the print r later on, but let me just bring it out here. So we have the print r, and we have the vadom. So these two are used to also output value. So in our next lecture, when we're going to talk about vadom, I'm still going to use this later on. So this one, we use this print out to output what we call arrays. Arrays is when you have multiple data. So whenever you have more than one data type, so we use this print out to output it. We are still going to use it in practice. So another one again is the vadom. Now vadom can be used to output any data that you want. Now the beauty about vadom is that vadom will output it and tell you what data type the thing is. So it will output it, it will give you more details of that particular element. So now let me tell you to output this stuff. So put it inside of the vadom. So when I refresh, you see it's telling you it is a string, and the numbers of characters that is inside of it are 9. Then it's now outputting the character there. So that's what the vadom does. It will just bring you detail of that particular element you're trying to output. So now PHP, when it comes to variable, PHP is loosely typed. So it's loosely typed means that you can just write it's not that strict. In most other programming language, you have to specify what data type this is. So if this is right now, if you look up here, you see what is written on top, string. In most other programming language, you have to specify that this variable is meant to be used for string, or it should be meant to be used for number. Otherwise, it will throw you error. But PHP is so loosely typed that you can just write it like that without it throwing you error. So automatically, it will just convert the variable into what is string, just like what you just did now. It's telling you that this variable is containing a string inside of it. So if I put a number, if I change this and put number inside of it, it will tell you it is containing an integer, which is a number. So you see the int. So same thing if you put other data type. So now let's talk about all these data type. Let's talk about data type, because without data type you will not understand PHP fully. So you need to know the different data type that we have. The first one we have is a string. Now what you have to know whenever you hear string, what you should have in mind is that string is any text, message, whatever you call it, words. After you are trying to output a text, we call that string. And to write a string, we write it inside of what? We write it using the single quote or double quote. So let me comment on all this. Okay. So let me still use this. So this is a string. So if you are trying to output a text or a message, whatever it is all called string. You can wrap it using the double quote, or you can wrap it using a single quote. So let me think I need to use separate. So let me create. So you can use a double quote, or you can use a single quote. So whichever one. But just know that a string is any text or message. That's what a string is. Any text or message you want to output. So whenever you want to output a text or message, you have to wrap it with this. If you do not wrap it like this, it will throw you an error. So it throw you an error. If you don't do like this does not work. You cannot write a text like this. So it has to be like this, with a double quote, or use single quote, whichever one. So I'm going to call that string. So next thing we have is the integer. Now what is an integer? An integer is any number without a decimal point. So an integer is any number without a decimal point. So int for short. So any number you have that does not have a decimal point, that's what we call integer. So it's very, very important. So in PHP, numbers are just divided into two: integers, and the next one will be float. So a float is any number with a decimal point. So any number that has decimal point is called a float. Sorry, I didn't mistake. So any number that has a decimal point is called a float. So an integer is any number without a decimal point, while a float is a number with a decimal point. So you will also hear about something like long. So long is also a boolean. Long is also an integer. So you can call it an integer or a long. So an integer So now for float, you can call it float, or we have what we call double. And call it a double. So either I call it a float or a double. So next one we have is a boolean. So now what is a boolean? So boolean is either true or false. So the same thing as saying yes or no. So it has only two values. It just has only two values, true or false. True and false. So true and false is the only value that the boolean has. So these are the value of the boolean. So always remember to always close whatever you're writing with a semicolon, because it's very, very, very important. Otherwise it will be throwing you error. So another stuff we have is what we call an array. So we have an array. So we have what we call an array. Now what is an array? So an array is just having more than one data type. So you have more than one data type. So there are two ways. Now the previous way we write array and the current way we write array. So the way to write array is you write array, then you pass a parenthesis. So instead of that parenthesis, you can pass whatever you want to pass there. You can pass a string, let's say ask. You can also pass a number, so it contains as an integer. So you can pass even your boolean. So it can contain as many data type as you want. You can keep adding more data. At first you just separate it with the comma. You can keep adding more data type. So but using this array and parentheses is actually the older way we usually write array in PHP. So the new way to write array is passing the block, just as simple as that. You pass in block, then instead of that block, you can just put your array. So let's say right now I want to use I want to write different data. different cars. So let's say BMW, Tesla, Volvo. So this is it. You can keep putting more data as you want. So this is just the new way. So in case you see something like this, just know that this is called an array. You just are putting more than one data type. So it's just a variable that contains more than one. It's a value that contains more than one data type. So next thing we have is we have what we call the object. So we are going to talk about object when we get into data lecture, but we just know that we have a lot what we call object. So object is just a full topic on its own. It's just like having a template. It helps to minimize. It's a way of writing your code to minimize your code, make it so you don't repeat yourself all the time. But don't worry, let me not go into that. It's going to get a little bit confusing. So another thing we have is we have what we call the null value. So we have the null. So null is just the same thing as saying putting nothing. So now, but we say instead of, it's just like assigning nothing to a particular value. And you may be asking, why should we assign nothing to a particular variable or into a particular place? Sometimes we can't leave something just empty. So if you leave it empty, it may just throw an error. So it's always better to just assign it into just assign the null there, showing that the thing is just empty. So another data type you're going to hear about is what we call the nan. So nan stands for not a number. So not a number. Whenever you are writing something that is neither a string or a number, or an impossible mathematical operation, can be called a nan. So now another thing you will hear again, but we don't usually categorize it as a data type, is undefined. So undefined. So undefined. So now what is this undefined? So undefined actually is not a data type, but you will see it more often. So it means something something has not been assigned to a particular variable. So a variable can be undefined. You're just trying to tell you that there's nothing inside of that variable. So you'll be seeing this even whenever you have error, because in this PHP you're going to be seeing a lot of errors. So whenever you see undefined, what you should know that check that variable, check the thing you are trying to output. There is no value inside of it. So now let's talk about some string functions. So like I said, a string is actually any message, any text, any letter, character, whichever one you want to call it. So that's what we call the string. But now there are inbuilt functions that we can use to work on the string. So inbuilt functions. Now let's talk about those inbuilt functions, most of them. So one of the inbuilt functions that we have is the string length. So the job of the string length is to return the length of a string. For example, so I already have a string here. If I want to return the length of the string, or let's say, let me create a new one. So remember, I want to output it, I'll have to use the echo. So I will say echo the string length. So echo the string length of. So right now I'll be using the variable. Where I use this, so I'll create a variable. So let's create a variable. So I'm going to call that variable txt. So what I'm going to assign there instead of variable, I'm going to assign a text instead of variable. So remember how to create a string. So you create a string using double quote or single quote. So let me use a single quote this time around. So let's say, hey there. So now, so if I come here, I'm passing this variable instead of this string length as a argument. So I'm passing this txt there. So in this second line, I'm telling it to do what? Tell me the length of whatever character that is inside of this txt. So when I output this, it's going to return the length 9. So the length counting it is going to be 9. So now, but if you look at this now, this is 3 and this is 5. So how did it get to 9? So the reason why is that whenever you are using instead of a string, at first something is instead in between these double quotes, this space here is being counted as a string. So if you put space here again, more space, you see it increased to 10. So the string length always views the string length will always view the space as part of the string. So that's all you just have to know. So in short, when not only the string length, normally the space are all viewed as part of the string. So the moment you put space here, know that your variable here is going to increase automatically. The number there will increase. So another function we have again that works on the string is a string word count. So what the string word count does is that it will count the number of words instead of a string. So let's say I'll just put more word here. So when I come here and say string word count, so string word count, so you pass it. Mention whenever you are writing a function, you have to pass this parenthesis there. So the string word count function. So what it does is that it will count how many words that is inside of that place and return it for you. That's what it does. So how many words that is there and return it. So 4. So this one string word count does not see space on like your string length. So now another one we have is let me remove this. So another one we have is string reverse. So we have the string reverse. So what the string reverse does is that it reverses a word in a string. So very important. So actually this was one of the questions given in a very big competition for engineers. So how to reverse word in a string. So it may sound really simple, how to just reverse a word in a string. So but it's very important whenever you're trying to use it to implement functionalities. So we have string reverse. So string reverse. So now the job of this string reverse is to reverse whatever you're reading. So let me just reverse what is already inside of this text. So instead of starting from the hey to the word, it will reverse everything backwards. This is it. So now the hey is now backward. Everything just turns it backward. So Another thing we have is a string props. So the string props functions searches for a specific text within a string. So if a match is found, it returns the character position of the first match. If no match is found, it returns false. So now I'm going to so now I have to before we start with these string props is that the string the echo, this echo does not, so the echo does not output false. That's one thing you have to understand. So if you want what will output false for you, you use vadom instead. So use vadom is going to return you false, but echo either return you 0 to return you nothing instead of return you false. So now what we are saying is that the string props returns the position of a particular string. So let's say instead of we are telling now what we pass first instead of the string props function is that we pass the name of the variable, the string you are trying to, the string, so the main string, that is the main sentence you are trying to pass there. That's what you pass first. Now the next thing you pass is the word you want it to search for. So I say instead of this string, I want you to search for the position of hello. So if I come here and write hello, so hello, so when I come back and when I refresh, so it returns me the position 15. So if you count from this place down to the hello, you find that the position there is 15. So but now let's tell it to search for a particular word that is not here. So let me say search for there. So when I refresh, so it returns nothing. So but if you are using the vadom rather than the echo, it's going to return. So the vadom always comes with parentheses. So if you're using vadom, always know that you're going to wrap everything with parentheses. I'm going to call this x p6 before your closing, then refresh. So it's going to return you false. So the only thing you will just have it in mind that the print, the echo does not return false. It does not return true or false, only the vadom. So another inbuilt function we have is the string replace. So the string replace, so the string replace function replaces some character with another character in the string. So the string replace string replace. So the first thing you are going to pass in now, okay, let's start from the last to the first. So the last value you are supposed to pass is the string, the text itself. So okay, now let's start from the beginning. So you can just say replace. So instead of this sentence, I want to replace hello. Okay, let's say I want to replace hey. So I come into this place, what I'm going to pass there is that hey. So what do I want to replace it with? I want to replace hey with, so comma, then what you want to replace it with. Now you want to replace it with you. So you want to replace the word hey instead of this text with you. Now inside of, then you, last thing you're going to pass is the string you are talking about. So I'm going to pass the string here, that is txt, the variable txt. So I'm trying to this how it works. The first thing you pass there is always the word you are trying to replace. The second one is the word you are trying to replace it with. Now the sentence you are trying to replace it in, that is the last one. So when I refresh, so so let me output this. So I'm going to echo it. So echo, make sure you put space. So, and always remember to close it with your semicolon, because it's very, very, very important. So when I refresh, this is it. So instead of it outputting the hey there, now what I'm seeing there is you there. So this is all the string function that we have for now. So there are many other string functions that we are going to I'm going to let you. So there's still other string reference. You can still go, if you click on this string reference, it's going to, if you go to W3 school, click on the string reference, it's going to take you to many more, and you need to check them. It's not that you need to cram them. So you can just go mess around, go through them, check what they do, like most of all of them. Now you are also seeing this stuff. You are seeing the echo as a string function. So the echo is actually a string function. The job of the echo is that it is used to output um, uh, strings. So another thing again, you just need to go through all of them. You will see most of the job they do. So if there's anyone that is confusing, you can just post it. Let me help you out, or you can still research on it. So I'm just going to give it time so you can go through this string function on your own. You can just go through it and start checking what they do. So like I say, it's not a must. You don't need to cram them. Just go through it. That's all you just need to do. So in our next lecture, we are going to continue from the numbers. So, but is there any question?
So I have a question.
Okay, no.
The arrays, can you rename them, or can you only be named arrays?
The arrays, like this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change. You if you want to. You mean the inside of the
No,
variable?
like the one on top. No, the name of the values.
Okay, the value here.
Yeah.
You can rename
Yeah.
it.
Can you change it from arrays?
Yeah, you can change the value. You can change the value and put anything you want.
Okay.
You can add as many as you want. You can make it as many as you want.
Okay.
So any other question? Okay. So I believe that there's no other question. But if you still have any other one, you can still type paste it on WhatsApp. So see you in our next lecture. So I'll be
Okay, sir. Thank you.
okay. I'll be posting the video in case you want to use the video.
Yes.